Please tell me whether Akrura, the son of Swavaka, is doing well. He is a faultless soul surrendered to the personality of Godhead. He once lost his mental equilibrium due to his ecstasy of transcendental love and fell down on the dust of a road which was marked with the footprints of Lord Krishna. Purport. When Akrura came to Vrindavan in search of Krishna, he saw the footprints of the Lord on the dust of Nandagram and at once fell on them in ecstasy of transcendental love. Thus ecstasy is possible for a devotee who is fully absorbed in incessant thoughts of Krishna. Such a pure devotee of the Lord is naturally faultless because he is always associated with the supremely pure personality of Godhead. Constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method for keeping oneself free from the infectious contamination of the material qualities. The pure devotee of the Lord is always in company with the Lord by thinking of Him, yet in the particular context of time and place, the transcendental emotions take a different turn, and this breaks the mental equilibrium of the devotee. Lord Chaitanya displayed a typical example of transcendental ecstasy, as we can understand from the life of this incarnation of God. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyanandana Salakaya Shakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamiyam Dadati Swapadantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Vidura continues to remember all the fortunate associates of the Lord. When the Lord appears in this world, He does not appear alone, but along with Him also appear His devotees. And so Krishna is always surrounded by many wonderful devotees. And many of these devotees are great and very exalted souls. We're seeing that Vidura is none other than Yamaraj. Yamaraj had been cursed because one sage was traveling in the forest and found shelter in a hut. He stayed there in that hut. Then at night others came also for shelter. So they shared the shelter of the hut. And then not too much later, soldiers arrived and arrested everyone in the hut because these other personalities were robbers and dacoits who had killed people and robbed people and so on. So the sage was somehow or other lumped in with this group, and they decided to condemn them to death and throw them on some upraised spears from a raised platform. And so the king gave order, but only in the last moment they found out that there was a sage amongst them. So he was not meant to be killed, so he was saved. Then the sage, who was very powerful, he decided he said, how can this happen? Why this is happening? Such a thing. I'm not a dacoit. This is not supposed to happen to me. So he went to Yamaraj to find out. And then Yamaraj explained that this was due to happen because, he said, when he was a child, he had pierced an ant with a thorn. So for that, he needed to be pierced now by some. He says, but then the sage said, but this is ridiculous. I was a child. You cannot hold a child responsible in the same way as an adult. It's inappropriate. The punishment here is inappropriate in relation to the offense. No. Therefore, you have wrongly applied, the reactions, and I curse you. This is not based on proper intelligence. This is the intelligence of a Sudra, of one who has no intelligence. Therefore, I curse you that you will have to live on earth as a Sudra. And so Vidura became that personality. Because we see that Yamaraj is not an ordinary person. Yamaraj is a great devotee of the Lord. Yamaraj is a direct agent of the Lord. And his service is simply devotional service. He's simply fulfilling the mission of the Lord to purify the living beings so that they can become eligible to become elevated. That is his interest. We see at the time of Lord Chaitanya, and we see that Jagai and Madai, the most sinful men, were delivered by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And it is said Jagai and Madai had committed so many sinful activities that they didn't know where to keep the records. The scribes, they got cramp in their hand from writing it down. The messengers were falling by the wayside, bringing always news about new sinful activities. And Chitragupta, who was in charge of the whole department, he didn't know where to keep the records. So many files, he didn't have space. And then all that was written off. And when Yamaraj found out about that, he became so ecstatic, he fell unconscious in his chariot. And he was lying in ecstasy in his chariot. That they were delivered from so many sins by the mercy of the Lord. That was amazing. Anyway, so Yamaraj is a great devotee, and now Yamaraj appeared as Vidura. So it is not surprising that Vidura is a great devotee. Somehow or other, externally, a Dasit Putra, the son of a Sudrani, and therefore, and the king, and therefore counting as a Sudra, but really a very exalted soul. And because Vidura is an exalted soul, he's naturally appreciating devotees. And he sees the good qualities of the devotees. So yesterday he looked upon Satyaki, and today he's looking upon the son of Svafalka. Svafalka had received great blessings, and that wherever Svafalka was, there would be ample of rain. So that was very auspicious. Then, apparently, the power of the father was transferred upon the son, Akrura. So it was always good to have them around, because then you got sufficient rain. Yes. But Akrura, Vidura was particularly remembering Akrura, who went to Vrindavan as a messenger of Kamsa. As a messenger of Kamsa, to invite Krishna and Balaram to the wrestling match in the arena in Mathura. At that time, Akrura had mixed feelings. On the one hand, he was unhappy that he was a messenger of a sinful king like Kamsa. But on the other hand, his ecstasy took over because he was going to meet Krishna. So he was very excited, even although sent by Kamsa. Still, he was very ecstatic. He was going to meet Krishna. And that ecstasy, his anticipation, he was thinking about it the whole way. I'll meet Krishna, and I'll see Krishna, and I'll speak to Krishna, and I'll be with Krishna. And like that, he's thinking the whole way, and he was already in that mood of anticipation, getting more and more ecstatic about the whole idea. So his ecstasy was already there before he saw the footprints of Krishna. When he then finally saw the footprints of Krishna, then that ecstasy just increased to a point that he lost self-control. And he just fell on the ground and rolled in the dust of those footprints, covered himself in that dust. And of course, following the footsteps of Akrura, whenever we come to Vrindavan, we are supposed to jump out of the car and start rolling in the dust. That is the proper way to enter Vrindavan. If you come to Vrindavan and you're not rolling in the dust, then, you're missing something. Of course, ladies, they should not lie flat on the earth because Bhumi is a lady, and it said the breasts should not touch. So, therefore, but we see the ladies lie on the side. When we see ladies doing Govardhan Parikrama, they lie on one side. Yeah, and in that way, they also fall in the dust and throw the dust all over them. Yes, because this is Vraj Raj. This is not ordinary dust. This is transcendental. This is fully transcendental dust. Very potent. Very potent. The dust of Vrindavan. So, this is a transcendental personality who says, Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samarchanam. It was Lord Shiva, the greatest Vaishnava, who points out that to his wife Parvati, and he's saying that of all those who are worshipped, greater than any personality are the Tadiya. So Tadiya then is described in the purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada explains, Tadiya are all the paraphernalia that are related to Krishna. He says, like the Ganga, like the Yamuna, like Tulasi Devi is Tadiya, like the dust of Vrindavan is Tadiya. So all the attributes that are connected with Krishna, these are great treasures, because by worshipping them, one gets greater benefit. The devotees are also described as Tadiya, because they're also associates of Krishna. Therefore, Madbhakta Puja Bhyadika says in 11th canto, therefore we should worship the devotee of the Lord. By worshipping the devotee of the Lord, we attract more mercy from Krishna than when we try to serve Krishna directly. So, Akrura was acting spontaneously. Akrura did not calculate. When I come to Vrindavan, I will see the footsteps of Krishna and I will roll in them. No, Akrura, that just happened. Although Akrura was full of anticipation of meeting Krishna, he never thought that he would see the footprints of Krishna. Although it is said Vrindavan is full of footprints of Krishna. And there is a tradition that nobody, not any human being, not any animal, will ever step on the footprints of Krishna. Therefore, wherever the footprints of Krishna are in Vrindavan, they're always well preserved. Yeah, they're always well preserved. Everyone is careful to walk around Krishna's footprints. Yes, so it was not surprising that Akrura saw Krishna's footprints. When you go to Vrindavan, you're destined to see Krishna's footprints. And nowadays, of course, because 5,000 years have passed, we don't see the footprints of Krishna in the sand, but here and there we see footprints of Krishna in the rock. Just like in Kamyavan, there is that footprint of the Lord on the hill. And because the hill would melt in ecstasy, and therefore when Krishna placed his footprint there, then it left a mark on the heart stone. Believe it or not, that's up to you. All right. But why not? Why not? When Krishna is performing his pastimes, then why no miracles would happen? What are we expecting? That the actions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are going to be all according to the predictable modes of nature? When even a yogi, when even an ordinary yogi can do supernatural things. It's said that there are 8 mystic perfections, and one of them is Kamavasayita. And this Kamavasayita is that the yogi is able to do things that are contradictory to nature. So he can make water burn, for example. So things that should not be possible. He can do. He can overcome the laws of nature. So not only does he have powers within the laws of nature, but a yogi, a powerful yogi, can even go beyond the mode of nature. Prabhupada, of course, speaks about yogis that take their baths in all the holy places of India in one day, because they travel they go down in the river, and then Bidlagima city, they travel along with the atoms, and they can very quickly move through the water and emerge in a place thousands of kilometers away. And like this, they can visit all the holy places. And this is a useful city. We wouldn't need to fly anymore. It would save a lot of trouble. We could travel on sun rays or travel through waterways without planes or ships. The danger of mystic powers is that one becomes attached to them, and one becomes more powerful than others. Therefore, it is said that it is not recommended for a Vaishnava to try and attain mystic powers, because the mystic powers are compared to a black snake that devours us, which basically means it's like it becomes an obsession. It just becomes, it takes over. It just takes over. So therefore, we don't have such mystic powers, and therefore Krishna also didn't give to us. Vaishnavas, they rely on Krishna. There are 2 ways. One is the monkey way, the other one is the cat way. The cat picks up its little kitten and moves it along. The little monkey holds on with its little hands to the fur of its mother, and mother jumps all over, and little monkey is hanging there. And sometimes they fall off also. I have witnessed it in Vrindavan. It is said the cat way is better, at least in spiritual life, because the principle is the smaller personality is relying on the greater power of the superior rather than on its own power. So yogis are trying to elevate themselves through the monkey way. They are trying to elevate themselves by increasing their own power. It's very fashionable, because nowadays shamanism, right, is definitely something that is there amongst especially younger people. And many rituals are being performed. And the whole concept of shamanism is to increase one's personal power. I can walk on energy lines. Yes. I used to buy some books about this, and there was a book about a person who had met an Indian person from Mexico who had these, so not Indian from India, but Indian from Mexico, who had such mystic powers, and who was able to step on energy lines and then cross a waterfall. He taught his disciple how to run through a forest in the dark without hitting a tree. Okay. All these kind of things. So that was part 1 of the book. I thought it was interesting. So I bought part 2. Even in part 2, it was still good. I bought all the way up to part 4. And in part 4, the medicine man, right, who had his mystic power, was finally encountering death. And then he used his mystic abilities, the shaman used his mystic abilities to fight off death. And it became like a dance where death was moving forward, and he was blocking death, and he was evading death, and dancing around death. And then in the end, he lost and died. That's when I took the book and dropped it in the garbage can, like, all this trouble for what, In the end, he lost. What was the use of it? What was the point? It just showed just temporary glory. I've got mystic power. And then what? Right? It doesn't help at the crucial moment. And at the crucial moment, it's not going to be enough. It is at that time. We also remember Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan. And he was in his house, and they brought a magician. And the magician was doing different tricks. And he had a coin on his hand, and it disappeared. And then he started also putting Prabhupada a little bit in his act, because everyone was looking at Prabhupada. So he stepped up towards Prabhupada, and a coin disappeared in Prabhupada's ear. And then he pulled it out from the other ear. Yeah. And then again, and some devotees thought, isn't this an offense? Can you do this to the pure devotee? But Prabhupada was like, showed some level of, nice tricks, nice. So, Prabhupada said, we have just witnessed he said, we just witnessed, sir, how you could make all these things disappear. Now I have one question to you. Can you make birth and death disappear? Then he said, that I cannot. Prabhupada said, that I can do. That I can do. Yeah. So that is the point. That is the point, that ultimately only the Supreme Personality of Godhead can give us this deathlessness. We remember the second offense in the matter of chanting the holy name, to consider the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to be equal or independent to the name of Lord Vishnu. Now, what does that mean? It basically means, remember Hiranyakasipu, arms raised, stood on his toes, kept his life air, even in his bones. The ants ate the flesh of his body. Still he stood there. Then Lord Brahma appeared on his swan, threw some water from his kamandalu, and Hiranyakasipu looked like a beautiful young man again. Humbly, he bowed down before Lord Brahma, knowing that the moment had come that he would get his benedictions. And what did he ask for? Immortality. How can I give you what I don't have? Lord Brahma said. So the second offense in the holy name, to consider the names of the demigods to be equal or independent of Lord Vishnu, means that we think that if we chant these names, that we can get the same eternal benefit. But we don't get. We get only temporary benefit. Only eternal benefit can be attained by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. In this way, only then are we getting eternal existence. So therefore, it is condemned. Krishna condemns. He condemns those who are worshipping the demigods as less intelligent, as abudaya. So, in this way, we appreciate that those who understand that Krishna that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the object of all worship, they themselves are worshipable. That is why we are worshipping the Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas, technically speaking, are worshippers of Vishnu. Brahmanas, technically speaking, are worshippers of Brahman. And if we get very technical, then we are not just Vaishnavas, we are Karsnas, because we're worshipping Krishna, right? In particular. So in one sense, we are known as Karsnas, worshippers of Krishna. And it says, Jamanam Jayate Sudra, Sanskarit Bhavit Dvija, Vedapatit Bhavit Vipra, Brahmana Janatiti Brahman. So it says, by birth everyone is a Sudra, by the Sanskaras one becomes twice born, by the following the path of the Vedas, Vedic philosophy, one can become a Vipra. That means a Brahmana who's doing Karma Kanda. And a Brahmana, he knows Brahman. Yes, he knows Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. The Gayatri Mantra, which amongst Vaishnavas we are receiving several Gayatri Mantras. And the first Gayatri Mantra is known as the Brahma Gayatri. And it is what one can hear from tapes on Indian temples. Plung, 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 plung. And then comes some voice chanting the Gayatri Mantra. In India, they turn it on every morning. Like that. Of course, that Gayatri only has full potency if Gayatri is given. One cannot take Gayatri, one cannot steal Gayatri. Gayatri is meant for those who are in the mode of goodness or have blessings from their spiritual master. Anyway, but in the Gayatri, we also see the focus, in the Brahma Gayatri, the focus is on Brahman. Brahman is very important to understand. Aham Brahmasmi is not a small thing. Many people fall asleep when you're not the body class. Yeah, but the fact that they are falling asleep means that they are identifying with the body, right? Because sleeping is very much part of bodily identification. It is the mode of ignorance, right? The soul is ever active, we discussed yesterday. So sleep can be transcended. So we hear. I haven't done that as yet. But the point, though, is that when we hear Aham Brahmasmi, that is very significant. What is this? Prasanatma. How does it start, that verse? Huh? Yes, thank you. Brahma Buddha Prasanatmana Kangsatina Sosati Samasarvisa Bhuttesu Mad Bhaktim Labate Para. So it means that this Brahma Bhuta stage, this stage of realizing Brahman, makes one prasanatma. Prasanatma means to be completely transcendentally satisfied. blissfully satisfied. So that is very important. It is also known as Brahma Sukha. It says, Nayam deho deha bhajamni loke kastan kamam arate vibhujyam ye tapo divyam putraki yena satvam sujyatyasmat brahma sokyam tvanantam. This Brahma Sukha says it can be attained by disconnecting from the senses. Nayam deho deha. It says one can disconnect from the body by giving up sense gratification. And then one can come to this stage of realizing that we are not this body. Then one can reach above the bodily conception of life. Next is water. The bodily conception of life. So the bodily conception of life is not only that we think that we are this body, but it is also that we take the pushings of the body very serious. We just take it very serious. It's like, for example, we can say, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do when you are attacked by sex desire? What do you do? Well, the first answer is nothing. That's the best. Just do nothing. Right? If you can do nothing, that would be the best. That would be just, okay, that's the most simple. Now, if that doesn't work, okay, then there are other things you can do. Then there's a path, prescribed paths, but that brings back complications, right? Because so these are the pushings of the senses, right? And it's the pushings of the senses, that's what it means, the bodily concept of life. It's nice to have the t-shirt, I'm not this body, I'm eternal spirit soul, but what does it mean? It means that whatever this body dictates is of secondary importance. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is giving one lecture, and it's called Real and Apparent. And in this lecture, Real and Apparent, he's speaking about the unholy alliance between body and spirit. And that it says for too long, this matter has been dictating the spirit, and he's no longer going to be dictated by the demands of the body. Said he solemnly vows that he will only act upon the demands of the body if it's beneficial for spiritual life, for nothing else. Yeah, okay, we have one body, and right now we are living in it, and so we need to do a few things for the body, right? So that we can use it in the service of Krishna. That's it. So that's what it means when one's not on the bodily platform. So Brahma Buddha is very exalted. And we see, when I first came to India at that time, which is now like 50 years ago, then at that time, India was very traditional. And at that time, a Brahmana was highly respected, although Brahmanas were poor, because Brahmanas oftentimes are taking a voluntary vow of poverty. Right? Not all Brahmanas are poor, because Brahmanas also are receiving charity, and some are having, from that quite some wealth. But a Brahmana is in principle dedicated to not being entangled. And a Brahmana, he has different duties, yajan, patan, dana pratigraha. He is engaging in deity worship, engages others in deity worship, is studying the Vedic literature, teaching it to others also, and is receiving in charity and giving it away. And that is the thing. He has to also know where to give the charity and when to give the charity. So we see these brahmanas who are very, very austere. The minister of the king in Krishnanagar, what was his name again? I forgot. But anyway, that minister, he was very austere. He just lived in a little hut, and it was very poor. So the king said, "My dear minister, I know you don't want anything, but let me give you some salary." He says, No, I don't. I cannot take a salary. No. Then let me give you some property. He says, "No, I don't need anything. I'm fine. Said we have a shelter, and it's okay. And it said sometimes I teach, and my disciples they bring some rice. So you have rice." And he said, "And in front of my hut, there is a very nice tamarind tree. And my wife, she makes this really nice soup from the tamarind." He said, it's very tasty. So I have everything I need. So once there was a time in India when poverty was in high esteem. It's like nowadays, if you are rich, "Hey, Richie." Oh, that was funny. "Oh, you have such a good taste. Richie. Hey, Rich." Cool guy. Buddies, hey, Rich, yeah. He's my friend, yeah. Isn't it, Rich? Right. That's the nature of... now it's money. It can be the greatest debauchee, but if you're very rich, very aristocratic, very important person. VVIP. What? He took a bath, yeah. But, we're living now. So in Kali Yuga, gradually, the real value is lost. But Brahmanas were really respected, because they did the impossible. They actually were realizing that they were not the body. That's not a small thing. They realized, "Aham Brahmasmi." And so a Vaishnava is automatically a Brahmana. It doesn't mean, just... first of all, we have to be a Vaishnava. Right? It's not so easy to be a Vaishnava. And it's also not so easy to be a Brahmana. Aham Brahmasmi, therefore, is for us also something to realize. We oftentimes we chant Hare Krishna, but we forget. We forget that we have to disconnect from the senses and the body. We forget to do that. And then we Hare Krishna, Krishna, and meanwhile we're totally attached. And as soon as the senses push a little bit, what am I going to do now? There's nothing I can do. I have to do it. I was temple president in Vrindavan. One day a brahmachari comes to me and he says, "I have a complaint." I said, "Okay." He says, "I have a complaint about this Mataji." I said, "Okay." "Yes, she's looking at me all the time." I said, "Well, if you can complain that she's looking at you all the time, that means you are looking at her all the time as well." Right? He says, No. You don't understand. See, it means that she loves me. I said, "Get out of here." Get out. Oh, God. This is too much. too much. Anyway, it was too much, wasn't it? That this brahmachari, what a nonsense he was. But anyway, somehow or other, Yes, looking, and immediately, what you see, you see it, now I must have. Oh God, it looks so good, now I must enjoy this. Oh, hold me back. No, I think I'm gonna fall down, no. Why? Because I'm seeing. Bhova Thakur took out his eyes. We don't need to take out our eyes, but we need to chant Hare Krishna, and we need to gradually realize the Maha Mantra. It's not just sound. This is my last story of the day, is that before Krishna consciousness, I was somehow or other, I heard the Maha Mantra a little bit, heard it on the radio. I really want to see you, Hare Krishna. I heard it there. I heard it in the musical Hair, right? So I heard the Maha Mantra a little bit, and I also saw the devotees sometimes, chanting and distributing prasadam. And I would walk past to them, and then I would very loudly call my dog Krishna, which shocked them very much. They're looking. I go, Krishna. And then the dog would come. The devotees were really shocked by that. Anyhow, but one day, there was a musician, a piano player, and we did and I was also a musician, so we did a jam session, and we were going to do ragas. And he was older, so he had experience with raga, and I knew 2 ragas from India. I had learned 2 ragas. And so we were doing these ragas, and everyone else playing tambourines and, and whatever. And that was it. Then he says, let's do some mantra as well. Next moment, playing piano, starts chanting Hare Krishna. Then we're all like, Hare Krishna, everybody's chanting. And later, this musician was called Burton Green. Later, I read the Prabhupada Lilamrita. And I read in the Prabhupada Lilamrita that the devotees in the Matchless Gift storefront in the early days one day found a string board of a piano, and that they brought it to the temple. Just the strings. And then that particularly this piano player named Burton Green used to play on it during the Prabhupada's kirtans. I thought, wow, I got the holy name in parampara. Some sort of parampara. Yeah. Anyway, but at that time, when we were doing this jam session, at that time, I didn't mind chanting the mantra, because I thought, just like ragas and mantras, all spiritual sound from India. And at that point, it was only sound. I had no association with the sound. It was just sound. Krishna, sound. Now, if you say Krishna, okay, there's the flute, and the yellow dhoti, lotus eyes, footprints in the dust, and on the footprints there is the stick for controlling an elephant, a barley corn, a fish, a thunderbolt, so many things, right? Flutes, Krishna has a flute, but not only one flute. He has Venu, which is a little flute, but he also has the Mahananda, which is a huge flute, which he uses for the cowherd boys. So many flutes, so many things. Krishna has his Kastuba gem, Krishna has his Vajayanti garland, he has his peacock feather, he has reddish in different places, his eyes, his lotus head, his lotus feet, he has lotuses everywhere. We can go on and on about Krishna. As qualities, he has a chest as broad as a doorway. He has thighs like elephant trunks. Right? Anyway, like this, we can describe the qualities of Krishna now, because we have heard. So by hearing about Krishna, gradually our understanding of Krishna changes. And then the Maha Mantra also changes in meaning. Because as we're saying Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, it's not just sound anymore, there's also a picture. There's also a picture, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We begin to see the form. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, yellow dhoti, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, lotus eyes, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, like that. So gradually, it grows deeper and deeper. And we know Krishna's qualities, and we know his heart. We know how merciful he is. We know how he extends himself. And we're chanting Hare Krishna with greater depth. And eventually the whole pastimes of Krishna are there. And at one point, we'll even get a glimpse into the eternal pastimes of Krishna. So the chanting of the holy name grows on us. And as it grows in depth, it will become more absorbing. Then Aham Brahmasmi will be automatic. Then we will be able to just detach from the senses and the body, and then we'll be able to give up material sense objects automatically. Now that we are in Vaidhi Bhakti, according to rules and regulations, we have to be careful, right? Don't look twice. Like this. Like this. Now we are practicing. Abhyasa yogi yuktena. We're now practicing. But eventually we'll become more realized. Then it will be easier. In Nistha, it's said, as we come to the advanced stage of Nistha, the material desires go down. But in Anartha Nivriti, the material desires, it said, are the material influence is right in your face. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So that's intense. So in Anartha Nivriti, there will be a fight, a big fight with Maya all the time. Spiritual life is a huge fight. And it makes us exhausted. I don't know how long I'm going to last. I mean, it's like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. It's just like, pressure is too much. What to do now? Hearing, chanting, Krishna is all attractive. Find out how he is all attractive. Allow ourselves to become attracted to Krishna. I give the example of a feast. It is being served out, traditional Indian styles. All the devotees are sitting in lines and we're serving it out on the plate from buckets, right? And it's a super good feast. But we're sitting in the bad line. Oh, hey, no sabji here, no sabji, only rice, hey. No, still not coming, Finally the sabji comes, and you're hungry, so you already start munching on the rice, just your hand just starts eating the rice. Finally the sabji comes, but now they forget the puris. Hey, puri, what's going on? They're not seeing us. Puri, we're eating sabji rice, puri. When the puri comes, and suddenly they serve, gulabs, hey, gulabs, we want gulabs. Meanwhile, we're eating the sweet rice, but we don't taste it because we're thinking about the gulabs. We're just eating. The gulabs are not coming. We got the sweet rice, but no gulabs. Oh God, no gulabs. Come on, bring the gulabs. In the end, we ate the whole feast and we didn't taste one bite. So this example is the example of our spiritual life. We're not tasting a bite. But Krishna is all attractive. All we have to do is actually taste, is actually find out. And then the more we find out, that's actually nice. It's actually nice. Gosh, jeez. Krishna is actually nice. Wow, I never thought of that. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
It's just, I'm repeatedly amazed and humbled by your ability to give profound and deep class. And it's like going over each minute, and then there's so much into it. And I know you haven't planned it, you never plan your classes. That one part when you spoke about mystic powers and then how you connected them with the second offense, that's particularly interesting. I've noticed that modern technology is it's also mystic powers and gives people in general mystic powers.
Yeah.
And that's, I had a particular question, but I forgot it now. I just wanted to make this comment that it's so tricky. And actually then the modern technology, and I'm dealing with one, and it's like even computers and iPads and mobile phones. Yes. So that's the black snake. How did you call it? The black serpent.
Yeah, the black snake. Yeah. The black snake. It's the obsession, right? The black snake is a symbol of an overpowering force that is devouring us, and basically, if you analyze it, it's obsession. We become obsessed by these things. Yeah. And we all know that from the phone. This is the problem of the day, you know. Everybody's got one of these things, and it's eating us up. Right? And in the name of like being connected and everything, the thing is eating you up, and we don't even know what's behind it. But now you have to have soon you have to have a passport on your phone if you want to enter certain doors. Help. The thing is eating us up, and it's scary like anything. Very scary and weird. And I sometimes want to throw it away. Or sometimes I want to say, let's all go to a river. Are you all standing now on the bank of a river? All over the world, the whole of ISKCON. Are you? Yes. Then we'll send out one signal on your phone, right? And your phone vibrates. Pick it up now. And all at the same time. Call out loud, Haribo, and throw the thing in the water. Gosh, you know. Then, after that, put your hand in your bead bag, start chanting. And suddenly, you realize, wow, I have so much time to finish my rounds. It's amazing. They were finished so early today. Just didn't touch the phone. Yeah, because, you know, you can be a mouse of a man, right? You can be a mouse of a man, but when you sit behind a computer, you are like Lord Brahma. You know, you are the creator, and you can just delete, create, delete. In one stroke, one button, you know. Wow. I just sent a message to the President of the United States on Twitter to let him know that I didn't like what he said. Yes, Mr. Mouse.
Yeah, and this mystic power of Kama.
Vasayita.
That's actually becoming possible, and the travel, like there's this new thing called quantum teleportation.
Hey, whenever you got it really worked out, Matsya Airlines, I will travel with you.
It will come in the future.
Oh, yeah. Well, once you got it worked out, let me know. I'm ready. But I always have the fear that you have some portal and you go in and you emerge somewhere else. And what happens when someone goes in and doesn't come out? That's my fear. It's still material. it's still material. There's nothing that is free from fault in the material world. So, when that day will come, it may become scary. Because if there's a fault, what will happen? Now we know when there's a fault, okay, a serious fault, the plane goes down. Hallelujah. Then, I don't know. So the best is to travel in the way of the Devatas and in the way of the Vaikuntha residents. Pushpa Vimana. Flying cities like Kadamba Muni. Now you're talking. I wouldn't mind to travel in a flying city with nice parks and all these things. Yeah.
But although externally it all looks the same, between what the humanity is supposed to achieve in the future with this teleportation thing and those artificially gained mystic powers, then there must be a difference in the mentality between that and the demigods and how the cities in the past used to achieve them.
Demigods have many cities, and especially if you go higher, and the thing is that they become obsessed by them. They lose their pure devotional service. They'll have mixed devotion. So, look at Indra. Always getting in trouble. So, no, we'll just stay simple. Just keep it simple. As they say, just keep it simple, stupid. You know that one. Yeah? That's for me. That's for me. I'm not so smart, so I'd better keep it simple. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, dear devotees. This was the last lecture today, so thank you very much. See you again. Slip out the door early tomorrow morning, and see you maybe when we come back from America. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.